The classroom was silent. It was not a normal classroom. It was inside a giant space academy, where students from many different planets came to learn. The room was clean, bright, and filled with strange-looking aliens. Some had blue skin, some had long arms, some had glowing eyes. At the front stood the professor. He was tall, thin, and very serious. Everyone respected him. Today's lesson was about gravity. The professor turned to the class and said in a calm but strong voice, "Write this down. It is a universal truth. No species in this galaxy can survive 1G gravity." All the students nodded. They had heard this before. It was a known fact. No one questioned it. Most species live in low gravity, the professor continued. 0.2G, 0.3G. Some strong ones can handle 0.5G, but anything near 1G, he paused, means death. The class stayed quiet. Then suddenly, a hand went up. It was small, human. The room changed instantly. Heads turned, eyes focused. Whispers began. A human? They are weak. Why is he here? The professor looked confused. He had almost forgotten there was a human in his class. Yes, human? He asked slowly. The human boy looked calm. He was not scared. He did not look nervous. He simply smiled. Then he said something that made the entire room freeze. "Sir, and we live in 1G. For 1 second, no one moved. Then, the whole class burst into laughter. Some aliens held their heads. Others hit their desks. The professor gave a small smile. "That is impossible," he said. But the human did not laugh. He looked straight at the professor and said quietly, "Then maybe your science is wrong." And just like that, the laughter stopped. The laughter slowly faded, but the tension stayed in the room. The professor's expression changed. He was no longer smiling. He looked carefully at the human boy, as if trying to understand him for the first time. "You are making a very serious claim," the professor said. "Do you understand what 1G means?" The human nodded calmly. "Yes, sir." The professor turned and activated a large holographic screen. Numbers and diagrams appeared in the air. "Gravity at 1G, he explained, puts extreme pressure on the body. Bones crack. Muscles fail. The heart struggles to pump blood." He pointed at different alien species on the screen. This species collapsed at 0.6G. This one survived during 7G, but only for a few minutes. No one has ever survived 1G. The class watched closely. Then an alien student stood up. He had green skin and sharp eyes. He looked at the human and said, "If what you say is true, then your body should not exist." Some students laughed again, but softer this time. The human did not react. He stayed relaxed. "We don't just survive," the human said. "We live normally. We walk, run, play, every day." Now the room became quiet again. The professor's eyes narrowed. This was no longer a joke. He stepped forward. "Words are easy," he said, "but science needs proof." He paused for a moment, then made a decision. "We will test this." A low murmur spread across the class. The professor pointed toward the exit. "Follow me to the gravity chamber." All the students stood up quickly. Some were excited. Some were nervous. And some were starting to feel something new. Not laughter, but doubt. The gravity chamber was deep inside the academy. It was a large, round room made of thick metal walls. Lights glowed softly along the edges. In the center stood a clear platform surrounded by control panels and screens. The students gathered behind a safety barrier. No one spoke loudly now. The mood had changed. This was no longer a joke. The professor walked to the control panel and placed his hand on it. The system came alive with a low hum. "This chamber can recreate different gravity levels," he explained. "We will increase it slowly." He turned to the human. "You may step inside." The human walked forward without fear. His steps were calm and steady. He entered the center platform and stood straight. The door behind him sealed shut. A soft voice echoed in the room. "Gravity level 0.2G. Nothing changed for the human. 0.3G. He blinked once. Still normal. Some aliens leaned forward, watching closely. 0.5G. Now a few students gasped. This level alone was difficult for most species. But the human just rolled his shoulders. The professor frowned slightly. "Increase to 0.6G. The machine hummed louder. The pressure inside the chamber increased. This was the known limit. All eyes were locked on the human. He stretched his arms, then his neck, like he was warming up. A whisper spread in the crowd. He's not even struggling. The professor's fingers hovered over the controls. This was not expected. He spoke slowly, almost to himself. This should not be possible. Then he made a bold choice. Raise it to 0.8 G. A warning light flashed briefly. The students held their breath. Inside the chamber, the human adjusted his stance, and then stood completely still. No shaking, no pain, just calm. Now even the professor looked unsettled. He pressed one more command. 0.9 G. The hum grew louder. The air felt heavy even outside the chamber. But the human? He looked up and smiled. The entire room went silent. Something impossible was happening. The chamber vibrated softly as the pressure increased. Gravity level 1.0 G. The warning alarms turned red. A sharp sound echoed through the room. Danger level reached. Some students stepped back in fear. Others covered their mouths. This was the point no species had ever survived. The professor's hand froze above the control panel. "Stop the test," one assistant said quickly. "This is beyond safe limits." But the professor did not move. His eyes were locked on the human. Inside the chamber, the human stood still. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, he took a deep breath and relaxed. No pain, no struggle, no collapse. Just normal. The silence in the room became heavy. "This is not possible," someone whispered. The professor's voice shook slightly. "He should be unconscious." But the human looked completely fine. Then slowly, he looked toward the glass wall and smiled. What happened next shocked everyone. The human bent down, placed his hands on the floor, and started doing push-ups. 1, 2, 3. Each movement was smooth and controlled. The chamber alarms grew louder, as if they could not accept what they were seeing. "This must be an error," an alien student shouted. "The system is wrong." But the readings were clear. Gravity 1.0 G. Real, stable. The professor quickly checked the system again and again. Everything was correct. There was no mistake. Inside the chamber, the human stood back up. He dusted his hands like it was nothing. Then he stretched again, as if he had just finished a light exercise. The entire room was frozen. No one laughed now. No one spoke. The truth was standing right in front of them. The professor slowly turned off the machine. The alarm stopped. The door opened. The human walked out calmly, like nothing unusual had happened. Step by step, he returned to the class. Every eye followed him, not with mockery, not with doubt, but with something new. Shock, and something even deeper, fear. No one spoke as the human stepped out of the chamber. The room felt different now, heavy, silent. The same students who were laughing before were now staring in disbelief. The professor slowly walked toward the human. His movements were careful, almost unsure. He stopped just a few steps away. For the first time, his voice was not confident. "How?" he said quietly. "How are you still standing?" The human looked at him calmly. "It's normal for us," he replied. The professor shook his head. "No, this is not normal. Not for any known species." The human took a small breath and began to explain. "Our home planet is called Earth," he said. "It has constant gravity, around 1 G. We are born in it. We grow in it." He looked around the room at all the aliens watching him. "Our bodies are built for it." The professor listened carefully. "Built how?" he asked. The human raised his arm slightly. "Our bones are dense and strong. They don't break easily under pressure. Our muscles are used to carrying weight all the time. Our heart pumps harder, to push blood against gravity." The class stayed silent. Some students looked at their own thin arms, their light bodies, then back at the human. "We don't train for 1 G, the human continued. "We live in it every day. Walking, running, even standing still," one alien whispered slowly. "That means your entire life is under pressure." The human nodded. "Yes." The professor took a step back. His mind was racing. Everything he had taught, everything he believed, was now in question. He looked at the chamber, then back at the human. "What we called impossible," he said softly, "is your normal life." The human gave a small smile. "Yes, sir." The room fell into deep silence again, but this time it was not confusion. It was realization. The aliens were not looking at a weak species anymore. They were looking at something else. Something stronger than they had ever imagined. Not fragile, not soft, but built by a world that never showed mercy. The silence stayed for a long time. No one laughed anymore. The professor slowly turned back toward the class. His face looked different now. Not proud, not certain, changed. He raised his hand and the system screen came back on. The words on it still showed the old statement. No species can survive 1G gravity. The professor looked at it for a few seconds. Then he spoke clearly and firmly. Update the record. The system paused. Correction, he continued. Most species cannot survive 1G gravity. He turned his head slightly toward the human. Except humans. The words changed on the screen. A soft sound confirmed the update. The class stared at the new truth. Some aliens lowered their eyes. Some looked at the human with respect. Other, with quiet fear. The professor stepped closer to the human one last time. You have changed more than just this lesson, he said. The human stayed calm. I only told the truth, he replied. The professor gave a small nod. Yes, and the truth has changed us. Around the room, students were no longer whispering about weakness. They were thinking about something else. Endurance. Strength. Survival. One alien student said softly, if they live in 1G every day, what else can they survive? No one answered, because no one knew. The human picked up his bag and walked toward the exit. The path opened silently. No one stopped him. No one laughed. As he reached the door, he paused for a moment, then walked out. Behind him, the galaxy's understanding had changed forever. Because in a universe full of limits, humans were the only ones who grew stronger inside them.